नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशतारिणे श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 43, Text 17. We have selected the specific verse today in relation to the seminar that we are having now, Krishna's pastimes out of Vrindavan. This chapter is entitled as Krishna Kills the Elephant. This particular verse is little large, little long. Can everybody see it from wherever you are sitting? Okay. Otherwise, you can resort to your Android phones and Pocket Veda. So, it's a long verse and I'll just... Mallanam Ashanir Nrinam Naravaraha Strinam Smaro Murtiman Gopanam Sajano Asatan Kshiti Bhujan Shasta Swapitro Shishuhu Mrittur Bhojapatir Birad Vidushan Tattvang Parang Yoginam Vrishninam Paradevateti Vidito Rangang Gataha Sagrajaha. Mallanam Ashanir Nrinam Naravaro Strinam Smaro Murtiman Gopanam Sajano Asatang Kshiti Bhujan Shasta Swapitro Shishuhu Mrittur Bhojapatir Birad Vidushang Tattvang Parang Yoginam Vrishninam Paradevateti Vidito Rangangata Sagrajaha. Mallanam for the wrestlers, Ashani, lightning, Nrinam for the males, Narabaraha, the best of man, Strinam for the women, Smaraha Cupid, Murtiman, incarnate. Gopanam, for the cowherds, Swajanaha, their relatives. Ashatam, impious. Kshiti Bhujam, for the kings. Sasta, a punisher. Swapitraha, for his parents. Shishu, a child. Mrittu, death. Bhojapati, for the king of the Bhojas, Kamsa. Virat, the totality of the material universe. Avitusham, for unintelligent. Tattvam, the truth. Param, supreme. Yoginam, for the yogis. Vrishninam, for the members of the Vrishni dynasty. Paradevata, their most worshipable deity. Iti, in this way. Viditaha, understood. Rangam, the arena. Gataha, he entered. Sa, along with. Agrajaha, his elder brother. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the cowherd men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of the Bhojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vrishnis as the supreme worshipable deity. Please repeat after me. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways when he entered it with his elder brother. The wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt, the men of Mathura as the best of males, the women as Cupid in person, the cowherd men as their relative, the impious rulers as a chastiser, his parents as their child, the king of Bhojas as death, the unintelligent as the Supreme Lord's universal form, the yogis as the absolute truth, and the Vrishnis as their supreme worshipable deity. Purport by Prabhupada's disciples. Srila Siddha Swami quotes the following verse, which explains the 10 attitudes towards Krishna described here. Rodra adbhutascha shringara hasham vira dayatatha bhayanakascha vibhatsa shanta sa prema bhaktikaha. There are 10 different moods: fury, perceived by the wrestlers; wonder, by the men; conjugal attraction, the women; laughter, the cowherd boys; chivalry, the kings; mercy, his parents; terror, Kamsa; ghastliness, the unintelligent; peaceful neutrality, the yogis; and loving devotion, the Vrishnis. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that people like the wrestlers, Kamsa, and the impious rulers perceived Krishna as dangerous, angry, or threatening because they failed to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. Actually, Lord Krishna is everyone's friend and well-wisher. But because we rebel against him, he chastises us, and thus we may perceive him as threatening. Krishna or God is actually merciful. And when he punishes us, that is also his mercy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes the following Vedic statement: Rasa Vaisha Rasam hi evayam labdhanandi bhavati. He himself is rasa, the taste or mellow of particular relationship. And certainly one who achieves this rasa becomes anandi, filled with bliss. Taittiriya Upanishad. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes a further verse to explain the word rasa. Vyatitta bhavana vartma jas chamatkara bharo bhu ridi satto jala badham swadate sa raso mataha. That which is beyond imagination, heavy with wonder, and relished in the heart, shining with goodness, such is known as rasa. As Srila Rupa Goswami elaborately explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are 5 main rasas: neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental love, and conjugal love, and 7 secondary rasas: amazement, humor, chivalry, compassion, fury, fear, and dread. Thus, altogether, there are 12 rasas. And the supreme object of them all is Sri Krishna himself. In other words, our love and affection are actually meant for Sri Krishna. Unfortunately, out of ignorance, we stubbornly try to squeeze happiness and love out of material relationships which are not directly connected to Krishna. And thus life becomes constant frustration. The solution is simple. Surrender to Krishna. Love Krishna. Love Krishna's devotees and be happy forever. So, Krishna was brought to Mathura by Akrura. Kamsa was trying to kill Krishna. When all his various ways and means to kill Krishna failed, he devised this arrangement that he would bring Krishna to Mathura and kill him. So that arrangement was made. Akrura was sent with Kamsa's personal chariot, and so Krishna and Balaram was brought in there. And in the evening, in the afternoon rather, Krishna and Balaram, along with the cowherd boys, went sightseeing Mathura. And in course of their sightseeing tour, they came across the bow. That bow was meant to become an object of sacrifice, and the condition was whoever would be able to string the bow would receive half of Kamsa's kingdom. Kamsa himself would give it to him voluntarily. But the general idea was nobody will be able to string that bow, and the purpose was, and somehow to allure everyone to come there and bring Krishna and kill him. Kamsa brought all his allies together in this way. And Kamsa made arrangements to kill Krishna in various ways. Like in the morning, when in the course of their sightseeing tour, they came across the bow, which was the main object of the sacrifice, Dhanur Yajna. And this bow was not an ordinary bow. This bow was the bow that Narayan gave to Lord Shiva, to Tripurasura. And so this is how Lord Shiva received it, and then eventually he gave it to Parashuram. And Parashuram gave it to Kamsa's ancestors. So this is how that bow was in the palace. And but naturally it is Lord Shiva's, meant for Lord Shiva's use. So who could ever string that bow? It's a very special bow. And so no one could actually ever string the bow, just as Janak Raj's court also, Janak Raj also in his court had the bow of Lord Shiva, and he made a condition that anyone who could string that bow would win Sita Devi in marriage. So many other people came, tried, didn't succeed. But when Ramchandra came, what did he do? He not only strung the bow, as he pulled the string, the bow broke. So similarly, Krishna displayed a similar kind of performance here. He went there, picked up the bow with his left hand with ease. He strung the bow with equal ease. And then, as he pulled the string, the bow broke. So Kamsa's people tried to attack Krishna. A whole army, whole regiment came. But just with the broken bow, using as a stick, Krishna took one half and Balaram took one half, and with that they wiped out the entire army, fully equipped with all kinds of weapons. So in this way, we get a glimpse of the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the next morning, when they came to the arena, the arrangement was made. There was a terrible elephant called Kubalaya Pira. It's a gigantic elephant. And so this Kubalaya Pira was guarding the gate entrance way. And its trainer or its driver was sitting on the head of the elephant, blocking the way. So Krishna told, please move out of my way, I want to enter. And in this way, when Krishna ordered that elephant driver, he was already placed there with a purpose. When Krishna would come, the elephant would kill him. Kamsa was seeing Krishna only as a little boy. And he thought, what can this little boy, this elephant is strong enough to destroy this little boy. But Krishna played with the elephant for a while and then killed the elephant just by pulling the trunk of the elephant and beating the elephant with that trunk. And then after that, Krishna and Balaram entered into the wrestling arena. So when they entered, it's a beautiful description there in Srimad Bhagavatam. See, they had this huge tusk of these two elephants. They were carrying as a trophy. One tusk, Krishna was carrying, the other, Balaram. And Krishna looked so beautiful, like there was drops of perspiration, and his face was decorated with white sandalwood decoration, And the blood, drops of blood that came out of that elephant also kind of decorated Krishna's face, as if his face was decorated with marks of white chandan and red chandan. And he just majestically entered there. And this is the description how everyone saw there. Various kinds of people were assembled, but different people saw Krishna in a different way. Rupa Goswami described Shri Krishna as Akhila Rasamrita Murti. His murti, his form, is the source of all mellows, as if it is made of all mellows. Mellow means, the mellow description has been also given here. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained what a rasa or a mellow is. That which is beyond imagination. Transcendental mellows, first thing is beyond imagination. Achinta. Heavy with wonder and relished in the heart, shining with goodness. Such is known as rasa. In simple word, rasas are the foundation of emotional exchange. We experience different types of emotions, so these emotions are actually outcome of different rasas. Like there is an emotion, anger, the emotion, laughter, joke, the emotion of chivalry, the emotion of parental love, emotion of friendship, emotion of conjugal love. So these are all the manifestations of emotions that we experience. And the basis of different emotions are different rasas. So this has been pointed out here. Like when Krishna entered, how did the wrestlers see Krishna? The wrestlers were arranged to fight with Krishna and Balaram. Chanur and Mushtik. It has been described, the limbs of their limbs were made of material even strong, harder than thunderbolt. As if the thunderbolt won't even affect them. And their form was gigantic, huge. So their bodies are made of thunderbolt and a huge body, as if nothing can actually affect that body. So these are Kamsa arranged that these two invincible wrestlers will be able to kill Krishna. So the wrestlers, when Krishna and Balaram, they were actually getting ready. Prabhupada described in Krishna book. At that time they were making all kinds of, they were displaying their strength and things, demonstrating to the public assembled there, and the public was cheering, they were clapping, wow, wonderful. So as soon as they saw Krishna Balaram entering, they just looked at Krishna. And how did they saw Krishna? How did they see Krishna? Mallanam Ashami. They saw him as a lightning. So that is fury. So these moods or mellows has been described here, how they saw in which mood. Fury means anger. The wrestlers saw him in the mellow of anger, which is known as Raudra. And the men saw him as wonder. The men of Mathura, when they saw him, they were surprised. Who is this? Then the women felt conjugal attraction towards him. So handsome, they felt. They were completely attracted to him. The cowherd boys saw him in laughter, joking. Oh, so our Krishna has come. Like laughter, they laughed. Hush, out of happiness. The king saw him in the middle of chivalry. And his parents saw him in Korun Ras, Daya. Then Kamsa saw him as fear personified, terror. And that is Bhayanak. The unintelligent people saw him as the universal form. That is in ghastliness. And the yogis saw him as the super soul. And the Vrishnis saw him as with a mood of devotion. So in this way, the 10 such mellows have been described. When Krishna entered into the arena, wrestling arena, how different individuals saw him. So this is how it is being pointed out, how Krishna is the source of all mellows. Akhila Rashamrita Murti. His form is Akhila, all, complete. All. Akhil means all, total. His form is total combination of various mellows. Not only various mellows, all the mellows to the absolute extent. That is Krishna. This is how Krishna's supreme person identity as the supreme personality of Godhead is revealed. Anyway, so we will discuss about these pastimes later on during the seminar. I'll just invite questions now. Does anybody have any question?
All those soldiers were killed by Krishna and Balaram. They were not envious to Krishna and Balaram. They were just, So all the soldiers sent by Kamsa, they are killed by Krishna and Balaram. But they were not necessarily envious to Krishna and Balaram, but they are simply following the instruction of Kamsa.
Yes, so the lesson is, don't side with the wrong guy.
But my question is that when Krishna kills the demon, they go to Brahmajyoti.
When you side the demons, okay, go ahead. Yeah. So being killed by Krishna, they also attain some higher position.
Okay. The same destination.
If not, for Krishna to give Sajuja Mukti is no problem at all. Even Vaikuntha Mukti Krishna gives very easily. But bhakti he doesn't want to give. Only Prabhupada gives. Yes.
My question is maybe more of a comment, but asking if you wanted to elaborate on this. When we hear about these personalities who are so determined to kill Krishna, I find it remarkable, like Jarasandha took 17 armies every time. He was determined, all right, this time we're going to get him. No, next time we'll get him. And Kamsa sent so many demons, one after another, every one of them killed. But then he had this idea, all right, we're going to bring him to Mathura and then we'll do it. So to me, it's almost like it's a lesson that if you want to be, even if you want to be envious and try to kill Krishna, you have to be very determined. What to speak of if you want to become his devotee. You have to be equally determined in any relationship with Krishna.
Yeah, demons are very determined. And I wish the devotees also had this kind of determination. The other way around, though. And the other consideration also is that it's Krishna's pastimes. You know, everyone is playing their respective roles in the pastimes arranged by Yogamaya. And as it will be revealed that although Krishna and Balaram killed all the soldiers of Jarasandha, they didn't kill Jarasandha. Let him go. The reason was Jarasandha was Krishna's recruiting agent. So he was bringing the demons to Krishna to be killed.
Guru Maharaj, in Vrindavan, there are three rasas predominant.
Three
Rasas. Parental affection, conjugal, and friendship. Whereas in Dwaraka, there is awe and reverence predominant. But in Mathura, from this particular verse, it appears that there is a very wide variety of rasas, including even the Gopas feeling affection.
No, out of that, the five are principal. The 7 are secondary. Those mellows are secondary. And say this Sanchari Bhav, the 7 mellows change, but 5 mellows are fixed. Sthai Bhav. And like here we also have to consider that you see in Mathura, some mellows are present but not fully developed. Like friendship is not fully developed. Like this friendship that we are experiencing here are the friends that came from Vrindavan, Krishna cowherd boys. The parental is Vasudeva and Devaki's parental is not manifest, fully developed. Before they can, while they are recognizing that this is my son, at the same time they are getting the feeling, no, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the parental mellow is hindered there due to that awareness of the Lord. So the point is that awareness of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there in Mathura and Dwarka. Therefore, although those relationships are there, they are not properly developed. Whereas in Vrindavan, that consideration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not there. Therefore, all these three mellows are fully manifest. Friendship, parental and conjugal.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Then what is the difference between Dwaraka and Mathura? Both have awe and reverence, so is there still a difference between Mathura mood and Dwaraka?
As we see, Mathura is between Dwarka and Vrindavan. Right. Close to Vrindavan, but not fully Vrindavan. And Dwarka, the opulence, Aishwarya Bhav, is even more prominent than Mathura. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Maharaj. So when we say we're aspiring to go back to Godhead, we're talking about Golok Vrindavan. We just discussed that the consideration of Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not there. We are being trained in this process, always thinking that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if we were to go back to Godhead, do we have to kind of forget that when we get to that stage?
No, it's not that you forget. It is due to intense love that becomes unimportant. Because the love is so overwhelming that they don't consider who Krishna is, whether he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead or not. And in that respect, an example can be given. The son has become the president of the country. Everybody knows that he is the son, he is the president. But does the mother treat him like a president? It is not that the mother doesn't know that he is president, right? But because of her loving relationship that he is my son, that his position as a president becomes secondary. Similarly, Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead has become secondary in relation to their loving relationship with him.
Sorry, Maharaj, I have a follow-up that answers my question. So even in Vrindavan, they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his secondary feature. They're aware of that.
Yeah, they simply love Krishna, they don't care for anything else.
Okay.
Their only concern is, Krishna, I love you, I can't stay without loving you.
Okay.
Bas.
Thank you.
And that is the nature of love. When love is there, do you consider what the person is? There are so many instances when a very rich man fell in love with a very poor girl. Is he considering he is poor or she is poor or rich? Just love. And because of love, he is prepared to accept her in whichever way she is.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class, Maharaj. My question is, so if Krishna is the ultimate male and all the rest are females, that implies Madhurya rasa. At the same time, we know that each jiva has a particular rasa with Krishna. So will everybody have to come to Madhurya rasa eventually or stay? How does that work?
No. Here, it's not that everyone is female. Nanda Maharaj is not female, right? Shubal, Sridham, Vasudham are not female. The female consideration is the energy aspect of it. Krishna is the energetic and everyone else is Krishna's energy. So in that context, as the energy context, it is like female. But in the spiritual sky, everyone has his identity. Some has male identity, some has female identity. But the female relationship is deeper than male relationship with Krishna. Krishna's relationship with the gopis are the highest. In the spiritual sky also there is gender.
Okay.
Gender difference.
I heard from some devotees that, we should kind of disregard this bodily feature of gender because, the soul doesn't have a gender, it's just a soul, so it's not...
Soul has spiritual gender.
Spiritual gender, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Give it to her.
So I'm following up on Prabhu's question that in this verse it said the unintelligent saw him as supreme personality of Godhead. So
No, unintelligent saw him as in his universal form.
as in his universal form. Okay. So can you explain that a little bit? So the unintelligent meaning they don't have the eyes to see, they don't have that loving rasa of.
They have eyes and everything, but they don't have
But
intelligence.
they don't have. Yeah, I'm trying to. But how do they see him as the universal form? Because that seems to be such a. That form is so
You see,
complex and.
The thing is that they get impressed with his universal form.
Okay.
They think that the universal form is the highest. Like you'll find people consider the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the most exciting chapter. And immediately you know in which category they fall. The more advanced individuals would prefer Krishna's identity as a person. Like universal form is him as the source of everything. The entire creation is manifested as a personality. Everything that is happening is in the body of Krishna. So that body is the universal form. But when it comes to relationship, can you have a relationship with the universal form? No. Right? In order to have relationship, the best form is the human-like form. Therefore, Krishna's identity in his two-armed form is the highest.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, last question. If at all there is. Otherwise, I'll just end. Okay, Sachin.
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. Yesterday, Maharaj, you had mentioned that since we are all in Krishna consciousness, we would not be happy if we did not attain to those three principal rasas, like friendship.
Did I say that?
Something like that. Like even if we went
Maybe
to Vaikuntha.
what I actually probably said is a devotee of ISKCON will not settle for Vaikuntha. Unless and until he reaches Vrindavan, he won't be satisfied.
So what if we end up in Vaikuntha? How do we...
Then he'll consider how can I go to Vrindavan? You see, that has been very beautifully explained in Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. In the second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is describing the journey of a boy called Gop Kumar. So he is in Vaikuntha, not fully satisfied. He goes all the way up to Dwarka, still he is not satisfied. He couldn't understand why his heart was not content. He didn't have, according to that description, he did not have the understanding of Vrindavan. But Narad Muni detected that his heart is not fully satisfied. So he asked him, what happened? You are in Dwarka, the Lord is treating you with so much affection, the queens are treating you like their own son, and still you are not satisfied. So he just humbly honestly admits that yes, I know, I'm so fortunate to have this good fortune, but my heart is yearning for a boy who wears a peacock feather and he has a flute in his hand. So Narad Muni said, okay, I understand. Because he didn't want to reveal Vrindavan Tattva in Dwarka also. So that is how secret the Vrindavan Tattva is. So he took him to a solitary place and he told him that your attraction is actually for Krishna in Vrindavan. So that is how Gop Kumar eventually gets the message of Vrindavan and then goes there. I thought that was the last question. Okay.
Actually, we were talking about this same topic. So, related to this is that means, as you mentioned, that everyone has already a Swarupa fixed. It's not something new that we are going to develop. So, in that case, that means those who are related to the Lord in Vaikunthas, they are not going to come to ISKCON. Because, say, someone's Swarupa is to serve in a Vaikuntha with, say, some of the Vaikuntha forms.
Why do you have to look at it the other way around? Why don't you look at straightforward? Those who have come to Vrindavan, their destination is Vrindavan. Those who have come to ISKCON, their destination is Vrindavan. If someone wants to go somewhere else, okay, fine. All the best.
I'm asking because if someone has, he doesn't know what his Swarupa is. If his Swarupa happens to be Vaikuntha, so
Don't get into all these speculative questions. Like somebody may, okay, go ahead. You.
Supporting your answer, Guru Maharaj, in Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that Swarupa actually reveals according to the association of the Premi Bhakta and devotee.
Anyway, that may be, but in Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says other things also. Like Vijay and Brajanath, Brajanath had in Sakharas and Vijay had in Madhurjaras, although they had the same guru. So that may differ. And don't go into all these complexities. Stay simple.
actually many people ask this question, that's why I'm asking.
So give them a simple answer. Don't worry about it. Chant Hare Krishna. By Krishna's mercy, your identity will be revealed. If somebody is from Vaikuntha, if he comes to ISKCON, then what will happen? Why get into all that? Can you figure out who came from Vaikuntha and who came from a hellish planet? We don't know. We are here. So let's deal with that. We are here. And be here now. And move towards your ultimate destination. Don't waste your time in speculation. Whether the chicken came first or the egg came first. Thank you all very much. So I'll see you all at 11. Oh, I want to say one thing. Yesterday during the class, here or there, I don't remember, I made two mistakes. One was when I quoted that verse, Purishre Kirtoite Moishe Rogishto, that I am more fallen than the worm in the stool. I said that was a statement of Haridas Thakur. No, it was actually the statement of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And that's I think I told in the class yesterday. And the other one was, I said that tiger, I said it was Rupa Goswami. It was actually Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanatana Goswami saw that Raghunath, and he had requested Raghunath Das Goswami to build a hut. Thank you. Yes, Madhumalati.
Well, just ISKCON devotee won't settle for Vaikuntha. Same time, Srila Prabhupada called Bhaktisiddhanta, he was a Vaikuntha man. So I'm just wondering how...
Just to make us understand that he is beyond this nature. That's a statement. But obviously, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is not from Vaikuntha. His spiritual identity is as a Manjari. So obviously he is with Radharani, Vrindavan. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare.